You live closer to the forest than you think. Not the postcard forest, the real one, the green belt behind your fence, the creek by the golf course, the trailhead 3 blocks from your driveway that disappears into cedar within a quarter mile. You've walked past it 1,000 times the way you walk past your own garage. Certain nothing in there is paying attention to you. For years, that was a safe assumption. It's becoming a bad one because the animals on the other side of that fence aren't scared anymore. As Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and British Columbia keep building outward into forested foothills, a generation of wildlife has grown up learning that the easiest calories around aren't in the woods anymore. They're in a trash can, a compost bin, a bowl of food left on a porch, or, increasingly, in the humans standing next to all three. The wilderness didn't get closer to your neighborhood. It just stopped bothering to stay away. This list is not about the biggest predators or the ones with the scariest reputation. It's about something narrower. We're counting down 10 Pacific Northwest animals by how far they've already moved into the spaces we assumed were ours. And for the ones with a real incident behind them, exactly what happened when the line finally gave way. If that's the kind of thing you like thinking about, go ahead and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this channel keep making these. And while you're here, drop your town in the comments. I want to know how close you are to the edge of this list. Let's get into it. Number 10, bald eagle. We start with the animal you'd never put on a danger list at all. The bald eagle is a conservation success story people are proud of. And that pride is exactly why nobody's watching what success actually looks like up close. Eagles have rebounded so completely that they now nest in city parks, along urban waterfronts, and near landfills across the region. Not because they've adapted to us, but because we built our cities on top of the rivers and coastlines they already wanted. An eagle's diet is opportunistic. That's a polite way of saying it will take whatever's easiest, and near water, easiest sometimes means a small dog or a cat left alone in a yard. Wildlife agencies across coastal and lakeside Pacific Northwest communities field these reports regularly enough that it's no longer a novelty. Eagles aren't a threat to adults, and nothing here rewrites that. But an animal that once needed real wilderness to survive is now raising its young inside city limits, hunting the same waterfront joggers pass every morning, and treating a landfill the way its ancestors treated a salmon run. That comfort is the first quiet crack in the idea that the wild stays where it's supposed to. Number 9, California sea lion. Move down the coast, and the story repeats with teeth. Sea lion numbers have grown substantially since federal protection took effect decades ago, and that recovery has pushed the animals into direct, daily contact with people at marinas, docks, and popular fishing spots. They are smart, they are food-motivated, and they have learned, the way every animal on this list eventually learns, that humans mean an easy meal. Wildlife officials in Washington and Oregon routinely warn boaters and anglers to keep their distance. Not because sea lions are aggressive by nature, but because an animal that stopped associating people with danger starts associating them with dinner, and a 500-pound sea lion getting pushy around your gear, your catch, or your dog on a dock is not a small problem. Marina staff up and down the coast describe the same slow progression every season. A sea lion that used to surface at a distance, now hauling itself directly onto a swim step or a dock ladder, waiting. Number 9 goes to the animal that turned a wildlife recovery success story into a waterfront negotiation nobody remembers agreeing to. Number 8, gray wolf. Wolves are the one animal on this list that hasn't actually crossed into a city yet. And the reason to include it isn't that it's already here, It's how fast the gap between it and here is closing. For most of the last century, wolves were simply gone from the region, wiped out by trapping and hunting as ranching and farming spread through the early 1900s. What's happening now is a genuine comeback, and it's accelerating faster than most people realize. Washington's documented wolf population grew roughly 17% in a single year, crossing 270 individuals across 30 confirmed packs. New packs are establishing in territory that hasn't held wolves in generations, including parts of the North Cascades recovery region, ground far closer to Puget Sound population centers than wildlife officials expected this soon. That expansion is still measured in ranches and rural roads, not driveways and cul-de-sacs. Livestock kills near populated farmland have become a pattern wildlife agencies track deliberately rather than a rare anomaly. But every recovery moving this fast eventually runs out of wilderness to expand into first. And dispersing radio-collared wolves have already turned up in stretches of the Cascades where none were confirmed the year before. The wolf earns number 8 for what it isn't yet, not what it already is. The leading edge of the exact pattern that put the coyote and the cougar into city neighborhoods a generation ago. Number 7, Roosevelt elk. Now the list stops being theoretical. On Oregon's north coast, herds of Roosevelt elk have become permanent fixtures of towns like Gerhardt and Warrenton, grazing lawns, golf courses, and dune front yards the way deer graze a suburban flower bed. And a fixture, once it stops being afraid of you, stops behaving like scenery. Gerhardt resident Pauline Como was chased down her own driveway by a cow elk that gnawed bite marks into her minivan's passenger door. She nicknamed the animal CC, short for crazy cow, because giving it a name was easier than admitting a 500-pound wild animal had claimed her driveway. In nearby Warrenton, longtime resident Bill Ruth was knocked down and dragged across his own driveway by an elk, an incident he didn't tell reporters about until 9 years later. Wildlife officials eventually put that animal down after it also charged a girl walking to school. Bulls are especially unpredictable during the fall rut. But the deeper problem is comfort itself. The belief that an elk grazing your lawn every morning is scenery, not an animal quietly deciding whether you're a threat worth reacting to at all. Number 6, raccoon. Every neighborhood already has this one, and that's exactly why it's underestimated. Raccoons are the classic urban opportunist, intelligent, nocturnal, and endlessly adaptable to whatever a neighborhood happens to offer, from pet food left on a porch to an unsecured chicken coop. The Pacific Northwest isn't part of the raccoon rabies reservoir that affects the eastern half of the country, which genuinely lowers the disease risk compared to other regions. But lower risk is not no risk, and raccoons still bite. A raccoon that has lost its fear of people, usually because it's been fed, on purpose or by accident, is far more likely to act aggressively when it doesn't get what it wants. That's especially true of a mother defending kits, which is the single most common trigger for a raccoon attack on a person or pet. Number 6 goes to the animal so familiar it stopped registering as wildlife at all, which is precisely the condition under which it's most likely to bite you. Quick pause before we keep going. If you've had one of these show up somewhere you didn't expect, drop it in the comments. It genuinely helps to know how far this stuff is actually spreading. Now, back to the list. Number 5, river otter. From here up, the animals stop making mistakes about us. River otters have a reputation as playful and harmless, the kind of animal people drive to a lake hoping to photograph. What that reputation leaves out is that otters are a genuine predator species, fully capable of defending a den or a family group with force. In 2017, a family in Lakewood, Washington, watched a group of 3 to 4 otters drag their 2-year-old Labrador retriever underwater at their home on American Lake, leaving the dog with bite wounds. A nearby marina owner reported the same otters had been raiding equipment used for a local trout program. This wasn't one rogue animal. It was a group that had stopped avoiding the water people use. Attacks on people remain rare, but as Pacific Northwest cities keep building waterfront parks and greenways along rivers and lakes, otters are turning up in exactly the places people go to feel safe near water, and bringing a predator's instincts with them. Number 4. Bobcat. Quiet, low-slung, and easy to mistake for an oversized house cat from a distance, the bobcat has quietly become one of the best adapted predators to the fragmented, brushy edges of Pacific Northwest suburbs. Green belts, golf courses, and creek corridors give it exactly enough cover to hunt rodents and rabbits within sight of someone's back porch. In the South Bellevue Hills neighborhood, a bobcat came onto a resident's back deck and killed her 5-pound Pomeranian in a matter of seconds before clearing the fence and vanishing. No warning, no standoff. Just a predator doing exactly what a predator does, in a space a family had assumed was theirs. Bobcats are rarely aggressive toward people directly, but they treat small, unattended pets as prey without hesitation, especially at dusk and dawn, the hours when a backyard feels most like a yard and least like the wild land it still technically is. Number 3. Coyote. In March of 2025, a string of coyote attacks hit the Factoria and Norwood Village neighborhoods of Bellevue, Washington, within roughly 24 hours of each other. A woman was bitten on the leg while sitting on her own patio. The next morning, a man was bitten after a coyote wandered directly into his open garage. More encounters followed that same week, including a coyote biting a 4-year-old girl's hand outside her own front door. Wildlife officials ultimately euthanized 2 coyotes believed responsible. Here's the part that should stay with you. This wasn't the first time. 19 years earlier, a coyote in that exact part of Bellevue bit 2 boys in a single afternoon, about a month after biting a woman on a nearby sidewalk. Same neighborhood, same pattern, 2 decades apart. Wildlife officials say that's not a coincidence, it's a mechanism. Every uneventful interaction between a coyote and a person makes the animal a little bolder. Enough of those interactions, spread across enough years, produces a food-conditioned coyote that no longer treats a human being as a deterrent. It treats them as background noise, right up until it doesn't. Number 2. Black bear. This one already lives inside city limits, whether Seattle wants to admit it or not. In July of 2025, a black bear was reported on a trail at Golden Gardens Park, inside Seattle's own Ballard neighborhood, walking distance from houses, a coffee shop, and a public beach parking lot. Longtime residents said they'd never heard of a bear turning up there, but wildlife officials confirmed it wasn't unprecedented. The park had a verified bear sighting back in 2009, and nearby Shoreline and Lake Forest Park have had confirmed encounters of their own. Just east of the city, black bears have also been photographed wandering through yards in Sammamish neighborhoods. Washington is home to an estimated 22,000 black bears, and wildlife officials are blunt about why one shows up somewhere like Ballard. Unsecured garbage, bird feeders, and pet food left outside pull a bear into a neighborhood far more reliably than any shortage of natural food ever could. A bear that finds an easy meal once comes back for more, and one that comes back enough times stops treating the people living there as a reason to leave. That same loss of caution is what turned a heavily used trail into a closure order on June 16th 2026, when a mother black bear with cubs charged a group of teenage hikers about 2.7 miles up the popular Mount C Trail near North Bend, Washington, 30 miles from downtown Seattle. She swiped at one boy, leaving him with scratches. A second teen was hurt when he twisted his ankle fleeing the scene. A separate group of hikers on that same trail, the same day, reported being closely followed by a black bear for several miles. The trail closed while officers searched for the animal. It was never located. Washington wildlife officials are careful to point out that black bear attacks remain genuinely rare. Only one fatal attack is on record in the state's entire history from 1974. But between a bear strolling a public park inside Seattle and one closing distance on hikers 30 miles out, the same species is now operating comfortably on both sides of the line people draw between city and wild. And so we arrive at number 1, the only animal on this list already confirmed moving through actual city blocks, not just their edges. In March of 2025, a couple in Seattle's Magnolia neighborhood watched what they believed was a cougar clear a fence near their home late at night, moments after their dog froze mid-walk. Washington Fish and Wildlife later confirmed cougars had been documented in that same area before, reachable from nearby Discovery Park along the shoreline at low tide. Magnolia isn't an isolated case. A cougar reportedly lived inside Discovery Park itself for 3 weeks. Another spent several days crossing Mercer Island. And in Kirkland's Evergreen Hill neighborhood, police have fielded repeated resident reports and ring camera footage of a large cat over the span of months. Wildlife officials describe this as closer to routine than rare. Cougars loop through even the most developed corners of the region, usually a young male searching out territory of his own. Most of these encounters end exactly like Magnolia's did. The cat retreats, nobody's hurt, and the sighting becomes a neighborhood story on social media. But the 2 most serious cougar incidents in the region's recent history show what happens when that pattern breaks. In 2018, a starving cougar killed cyclist Sonia Brooks near North Bend, Washington, and mauled her riding companion, the first fatal cougar attack in the state in 94 years. Wildlife officers who responded found the animal still on top of Brooks's body, attempting to drag it toward its den. Not defending territory, not startled, hunting to completion. In February of 2024, a cougar dropped from trailside brush onto a 60-year-old cyclist's face and neck near Fall City, Washington. Her riding group pinned the animal under a mountain bike until officers arrived, which is very likely the only reason she survived. Wildlife researchers use a specific term for where these 2 kinds of encounters collide: the wildland-urban interface, the fast-growing zone where a new subdivision meets old forest, and a paved trail meets brush that's never been cleared. That zone keeps expanding every year. The Pacific Northwest builds outward, which means the same animal quietly clearing a fence in Magnolia is exactly the one researchers expect to keep showing up closer to trailheads, backyards, and cul-de-sacs alike. So look back down the list and notice what actually connects it. Not size, not how often each animal makes headlines. The thread running from an eagle nesting over a landfill to a cougar dragging a body toward its den is one quiet shift, repeated 10 different ways. An animal that once needed real distance from people learning, it doesn't need that distance anymore. And in almost every case on this list, we're the ones who closed that distance first. The unsecured trash can. The pet food left on the porch overnight. The greenbelt we built a subdivision around instead of removing. The elk we let graze the lawn long enough to name it. Almost none of these animals are naturally aggressive toward people. That was never really the question. The question is, what happens to an animal's instincts when the wild keeps shrinking and the easiest calories left in its territory come from us? And the answer, 10 times over, is that it stops being afraid. The fix wildlife agencies across the region agree on is almost insultingly simple. Secure your trash and pet food. Never feed wildlife on purpose. Keep pets leashed and supervised, and give any wild animal, especially one that doesn't run at the sight of you, plenty of room. Because somewhere between the eagle over the landfill and the cougar in the brush at Fall City, the Pacific Northwest quietly stopped being the place we thought we were living in, and became the place these animals decided to move into instead.